So let me start by taking you back to my spring of 2001. I was this idealist in Frankfurt, studying politics and philosophy, or I guess I was getting a master's degree in unemployment. But to make matters worse, I'm part of this lost group that's working on the theory of the public sphere. Trust me, it was just as bad as it sounds. Now, at the core of our suffering was this man, Professor Jürgen Habermas. He's a German philosopher who's known for coining the term public sphere, but he's also known for creating some of the longest German compound words you could possibly imagine. And trust me, there are a lot of long German compound words. So we spent countless afternoons mulling over the deeper meaning of his essays, and the longer this went on, the more our focus shifted towards a rather practical question. Was there anything we could do, aside from drinking copious amounts of coffee, in order to be transported into this sphere of thought where time and space cease to exist and the path of enlightenment is finally cleared? So, one sunny day, after another sleepless night, a few fellow students and I are about to get some lunch at the university cafeteria. And all of a sudden emerges, from the depths of quantum space, the man himself, Professor Habermas. Now, given the desperation we'd reached at this point, you can imagine that we were very keenly observing him. What would he say? Where would he choose to sit? Could we spot any books he was carrying? But most importantly, what was he going to order? And here is what he ordered. Multivitamin juice. So we began drinking copious amounts of multivitamin juice. We thought we'd finally discovered the magic potion. But unfortunately for us, nothing ever happened. I want to make a confession today. I don't think I ever fully understood public sphere theory. It's too complicated, and I don't think that there's enough multivitamin juice in the world to ever understand it. It wasn't until 10 years later that I finally had that eureka moment. In early 2011, inspired by the revolution that started right here in Tunisia, the people of the Arab world revolted against their unelected leaders and changed the path of Arab history for good. Now, seeing the images and faces of the revolution, I realized that all the complicated theories could really be broken down to one simple lesson. Whenever a vibrant public sphere forms, people emancipate themselves from imposed authority. Now, granted, the term public sphere doesn't really seem to say all that much, and it's kind of abstract, but it's really central to the way we think about democracy. Because it's in the public sphere that ideas are presented, issues are debated, public opinion is formed, and social action can really take root. So, this thought inspired me so much, I decided to create an initiative just around it. But we'll come to that in a second. First of all, I want to take you through 3 conditions that are very important for a vibrant public sphere, not only to emerge, but actually to be sustained, even in an established or so-called established democracy. The first is that 2 + 2 is 4. Rational argument needs to be the central point of engagement in the public sphere, because only through rational argument can we ensure that the public sphere becomes constructive. So if an argument has been proven wrong, we need to move on and create better arguments so that we can, engage better in the public sphere. The second thing is citizen participation. The more people potentially have access to the public sphere, the more legitimate the opinions that are generated in it. That doesn't mean that we have to make everybody debate about politics all the time, but when those who want to be part of political debates don't have any means of accessing the public sphere, that's when it becomes a problem. So, and the third condition is that there be competition. Because in its most ideal state, the public sphere is an open marketplace of ideas vying for support from the people. And it's through competition mechanisms like endorsements and ratings that we can actually add legitimacy to the opinions that are being generated. And that is really the connection between the public sphere and the democratic process. Now, of course, these are ideals. That's why we've never seen them fully implemented. But whenever we saw major advancements in one or more of these three ideals, we actually saw milestones in the history of democracy. And I'm going to show you. Take the example of ancient Greece. People would gather on a regular basis in downtown public squares called the agora. This is where citizens would debate about issues of concern to society. And at the end of these debates, they would raise their hands and vote for a certain course of action. And I think the public sphere here took a major leap because we saw advancements in all of the three conditions. It was based on rational argument. We had the first forms of citizen participation in the public sphere. And we had a very clearly defined competition mechanism through voting. It resulted in nothing short of the dawn of democracy. But there is a caveat, because citizens were actually defined as free and male. Women and various layers of society were perfectly excluded. Fortunately, it only took us 2,300 years to fix this problem. Around the 1760s in Enlightenment France, salons have become the central gathering place for cultural and intellectual exchange. And unlike in ancient Greece, women are not only included in these salons, they're actually running the show. It was a woman, the salonière, who would choose the debate topics and invite the speakers. Now, of course, she couldn't upload anything on YouTube, but that didn't mean that ideas worth spreading couldn't spread. Because it was in these very salons that the ideals of enlightenment flourished and the seeds of the French Revolution were planted. But again, there was a caveat here. Because the salons were fairly elite in nature. It was actually a very small part of society that could take part in them. It wasn't until the 19th century that we increasingly saw citizen participation get broadened to various layers of society. Think of London's Speaker's Corner, for example. In this designated free speech zone in London's Hyde Park, people from all walks of life would gather and debate about anything they wanted in the 19th century. The new thing here was the radical broadening of public sphere discourse across all layers of society. And as a matter of fact, you'd get a lot of workers for the first time in history. Now, you might think we've seen all these advancements in the history of the public sphere and it would become more constructive. But does all this guarantee that engagement is actually constructive? Let's stick with the Speaker's Corner for a second. I remember when I was living in London a couple of years ago, I used to go there every Sunday. And I will never forget how one day I was watching this guy's speech talking about how the West Bank belongs to the Jewish people. And at the very front of the audience, there was a bunch of Arab guys trying to distract him. They were like dancing and singing songs, something like Nancy Ajram or something. And the guy at some stage completely loses it and he goes, "You just hate the Jews." And one of the Arab guys goes, "What? We love the Jews. Orange Jews, apple Jews, pineapple Jews." This is a real story. It really happened. But why am I telling you this? It's because despite all these advancements, it doesn't necessarily mean that engagement in the public sphere necessarily becomes more constructive. And as a matter of fact, when disagreement hardens and people have more and more entrenched positions and stop listening to each other, they actually start forming communities within the public sphere where they can be sure that nobody disagrees with them. And I think this is what's happening in the Arab world these days. Take the example of Egypt. Social media, the very tools that once helped people liberate themselves from tyranny, are today being used to foster division. So you have two entirely separate worlds that barely touch each other, and you have the Muslim Brotherhood and those supporting the military coup. and they spend very little time listening to each other. So I think that the internet is actually playing a destructive role in this, because on the internet, it's very easy to be caught in the customization bubble. You follow the people that you agree with, you read the articles that you know you're going to agree with, but you spend very little time listening to what others are saying. Try to watch your favorite politicians' videos on YouTube for about 2 weeks. What do you think you're going to start seeing in the recommended for you section? That's right, more videos of your favorite politician. Now, that's okay if you're looking for Gangnam Style parodies and you want to see more Gangnam Style parodies each time you go online. But it becomes a problem when you're trying to educate yourself and develop political opinion. So, as I said, this process of the public sphere has inspired me so much, I decided to quit my job and create this initiative dedicated only to fostering a more vibrant public sphere in the Arab world. And so the Munadara initiative saw the dawn of light. We are a pan-Arab online and television debate forum. And we start with the premise that debate should be completely open to all, especially those we don't normally hear in the public sphere. That's why a lot of our work focuses on youth and women. So we announce debate topics on a regular basis and allow anyone who is interested to take part by submitting a video of up to 99 seconds. It's actually capped. So we announce the motion, people upload their videos, and they become automatically part of a competition. People can watch, compare, and rate these videos. So through this process, you're actually crowdsourcing new opinion leaders who you would otherwise never hear. By a set date, the 2 winners of our competition get to take part in a live televised debate. So we bring these voices to Arab home audiences that have probably never seen youth debate in public. And you'd be amazed to see the results. So ever since we started this initiative, we trained more than 600 youths in the merit of rational arguments and engaging constructively with those that you disagree with. 450 videos were created and viewed more than 300,000 times. We reached millions with our television broadcasts across various countries in the Arab world. So, the Munadara initiative is not the only answer to fixing the public sphere, because it's up to all of us to foster constructive engagement and listen to those that we disagree with. Because it's only when opposing views clash that we can finally unleash the power to change minds, new ideas can thrive, and we can finally reach the stage where our societies can thrive. Thank you.